it feels like we've been saying this for a long time. That word intention has been very, very problematic to me. Because like someone said on my Twitter feed very cleverly today, Luxon had no intention to work with Winston Peters, 12 months before the election. But of course, intentions change. So we've been very clear, like saying you're not being clear enough. This is not clear enough for us. It seems today he's changed his language to be more clear. Let's have a look at this clip. This is just a short 20-second clip from breakfast this morning, so everyone can hear it if you haven't heard it already.
Yeah, we are. I mean, we've been very clear with our position, which is, we're in an MMP environment. We've got an ACT party that was a bottom line for them in terms of wanting to take it to referendum. The National Party position. We don't want to support a referendum at all. We've come to a compromise. This will enable an aeration of those views in a select committee process, and there's no support beyond that.
So there's no support beyond that. Chewy, back me up here. That is clearer, but we still haven't answered the question, what if they say, let's make this a conscience vote? No journalist has asked that question yet. And so now it feels to me, although there is some news tonight involving Mr. Seymour, which scares the shit out of me to do this, we'll play that as well. But at least we can now say he's being clearer, and now it's going to come down to, do people trust him? Because he's not using intention anymore, but is he trustworthy enough to stick by it? So that's us. Chewy, I'll give Chewy the first word, Bomber, because that's sort of where we're at. We've been saying stop using intention, and he stopped using it. So that's where we are today, Chewy. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I'm trying to find the quote, but it escapes me at the moment. But I did see him say, as the leader of the National Party.
Yep, I've got that somewhere as well.
The Prime Minister, we will not support this. And I think that's a lot more definitive. And I think that is proof that internet bullying works. We have been internet bullying him for weeks now. He got bullied at Waitangi, and I assume taken into a room, the door was locked, and all of his advisors bullied him. So here we are. I think it's a good thing. I think it's taken him a painfully long time to get there. A painfully long time. And the only thing that has come out of it is that he's sort of gone, well, if I didn't agree to potentially setting off a race war, we'd have to have another election, which is weak as fuck.
Seymour was asked in one of his interviews, did you ever threaten to withhold your support if you didn't get it? And he said something like, no, we were never that explicit. I'm paraphrasing, but it sounded like he was saying, we didn't have to say that, but maybe. Yeah. Now, Bomber, I can see you there winding up to get up, but I want to do one more little clip just to set the stage for what he's been saying today, okay? So this again today was on AM show this morning with Lloyd talking about National will not be voting for a referendum.
And what we agreed to is we'll support it to first reading, but not beyond that. So we're consistent on that principle. That's been well articulated, well understood.
So there you go. Again, this morning, and the quote that I took out of that was, we're not going to support it. It's not going to get our support. It's going to not beyond that. So he's being clearer now, at least. Now, when I talked to Marty this afternoon, you had a slightly different take on it, Martin. So, and I think actually what you told me this afternoon has been reflected in 3 News tonight with something David Seymour said. But let's give you a crack at it now, and me and Chewy will sit back and watch the flames, and then we'll play some more audio video. Off you go, Jim.
I think what we're seeing here is a panicked and frightened National Party. I don't think that they really understood the cultural backlash they were buying into with their Faustian pact with ACT and New Zealand First. You saw a Luxon who was frightened, taken aback. He put the most meaningless nothingness speech together. And the most meaningless nothingness speech was the one that he gave last year. So he repeated a lot of that. Yeah. He talked about wanting to look into the future to 2040 like some sort of oracle, which is neat and fantastic. And we all want to talk about what's going to happen in 16 years. But I also think we're probably a little bit more focused on all of the trauma that he has allowed to occur right now. All of this double talk that he is putting out saying, I have stamped my foot down. I'm not going to do this. We're not going to take it to a referendum. Okay, that's fine. What if for the first reading, David just dumps the referendum idea and just makes it a conscience vote? That's a completely different bill. Now, and Luxon could hand on heart say, well, it's a different bill. We're looking at something different now.
National's not supporting it, but National MPs may.
Right. Now here's where the rubber really hits the road, I think, for me. You have a conga line of transnational mining interests who are wanting to get into New Zealand and mine conservation land. They believe that there is a ton of rare minerals down there, and Shane Jones, by God, is going to go find them. And if you look at the new regulations that they want to put in to allow conservation land to be mined, and the fast tracking power they're giving Shane Jones to green light that, when you take that in totality, you then understand why they're so keen on knocking the principles, the treaty principles, out of legislation. Because once you do that, you don't have an obligation to work with Māori. Right now, a lot of Māori are not going to give up or agree to conservation land being mined, right? But if you get rid of the principles, you don't have to negotiate with them in the first place. This is all interconnected in terms of a superstructure of capitalism, which they are all focused on screwing around with right now, because their money, their eyes are on allowing transnational mining industries and interests into this country, because they think that's their gold mine. And that's what they're playing for. That's what they're pushing for. To give Shane Jones, of all people, power of just being able to put something straight through because he thinks it's a great idea is a recipe for disaster. So when Luxon says we're not going to go along with the referendum bill, that can mean a dozen different things. Why would you allow us to spastically dance on the lip of a volcano under the understanding, oh, we'll pull it back? Don't you worry, guys. We'll pull it all back and we'll put it to bed and we'll get on with everyone having a 10% increase in their housing price. That's what Luxon's trying to sell. But it's a panic, because he is being ripped to pieces on both sides by two politicians who are far better than he is. Yeah. Winston Peters and David Seymour are probably the biggest players in Parliament, and Luxon is so incredibly weak. Every single week so far, David Seymour and Winston Peters have managed to overshine the Prime Minister. That's not a good deal. That is not a good deal. And so when he tells us, oh, we're not going to let this happen, it's meaningless nonsense. He's not calling the shots. He's not calling the shots. Winston's calling the shots, and David's calling the shots. Luxon isn't.